the world slows. The air thins. The vibrant chaos of life retreats into a deep, crystalline slumber. Winter is not merely a season. It is a profound, annual surrender to the cold, an intentional erasure of sound and motion. What ancient, necessary message is hidden within this deafening stillness? And what secrets does the deep cold truly hold about life and death? We categorize cold as a simple absence of heat, a scientific concept easily measured by a thermometer. But to experience winter is to witness something far more existential. It is the earth exhaling, pulling its energy inward, forcing all life to confront its own vulnerability. The silence is palpable, a heavy blanket that smothers the familiar symphony of summer. Tonight, we move beyond the meteorological definition of cold to explore its deeper, darker meanings. Its role in the cycle of life, its influence on human psychology, and its presence in the ancient myths that shaped our understanding of survival. We seek the profound truth of the great seasonal pause. Ice is the true language of winter, a temporary hardening of the flow of life. When water crystallizes into ice, it does more than just solidify, it expands, creating powerful, fracturing forces. In the deepest cold, this expansion can shatter rock, split trees, and crack ancient foundations. This physical transformation speaks to a fundamental principle. The cold is a brutal, yet essential, architect of geological change. But more mysteriously, ice has historically been seen as the ultimate preserver, a way of freezing time itself, trapping ancient bacteria, preserving mammoths, and holding within its crystalline structure a silent archive of the Earth's past. For the biological world, the cold mandates a choice: retreat or perish. Trees shed their leaves, not in defeat, but in a masterful act of strategic surrender, sealing off their metabolic pathways to conserve precious resources. Animals either flee the descending chill through migration, or they embrace the ultimate stillness through hibernation. Hibernation is not simple sleep. It is a profound, near-death state where heart rates drop to single digits. Breathing becomes almost imperceptible, and body temperature plummets. It is a biological negotiation with mortality, a temporary suspension of life until the promise of warmth returns. The cold forces life to whisper, to almost cease, demonstrating its brutal power to mandate stillness. While nature adapts with physical retreat, the cold imposes a different kind of burden on the human mind, one of psychological isolation. The early darkness, the scarcity of warm light, and the forced confinement indoors can trigger a phenomenon known as seasonal affective disorder, a deep, pervasive melancholy. Historically, winter was a time of genuine human hardship, isolation, and constant hunger, where survival hinged on the strength of communal bonds. Even in the modern era of central heating and electric light, that ancient, instinctual sense of threat lingers, coloring the cold season with a unique psychological shadow that demands introspection and resilience. In the mythologies of Northern and Eastern Europe, the cold was often personified as a devouring entity, a force of chaos and eternal darkness. Figures like the Norse giants of ice, or the Slavic goddess Marzana, who represents death and winter, embody the existential threat of the season. These myths are not mere stories. They are ancient explanations for the relentless cruelty of a winter that could claim entire villages. The rituals performed during the winter solstice were fundamentally acts of sympathetic magic, designed to mimic the return of warmth and to ward off the mythic hunger of the cold gods, who sought to plunge the world into permanent frost. At the very heart of the winter is the solstice, the shortest day and the longest night. This moment is the cold's apex, the pinnacle of its power. Yet, paradoxically, it is also the cosmic pivot point, the moment the sun begins its slow, undeniable return. For ancient observers, this was the most sacred moment of the year, a terrifying and exhilarating confirmation that the cycle of light would continue. The deep cold that follows the solstice is thus merely the aftermath of the darkness, a lag effect that proves the earth is slow to warm, but that the sun's promise has been fulfilled. The cold also carries an undeniable aura of purity and absence. The snow, the ultimate symbol of winter, covers the grime and clutter of the past year, offering a temporary, pristine clean slate. Biologically, the deep cold acts as a necessary ecological reset, killing off weak organisms, controlling pest populations, and breaking down soil structures. It is a harsh form of purification, wiping the slate clean for the next spring. This forced simplification prompts a corresponding simplicity in the human spirit, a focus on the essential: fire, shelter, and companionship. Beneath the frozen surface, where the cold exerts its silent dominion, an entire world is waiting. Seeds, protected by a hard, dark shell, lie in a state of metabolic suspension known as dormancy. This period of cold is not harmful to them. For many species, it is essential, a biological checkpoint known as vernalization that signals the time is right to germinate. The cold is, in fact, a whisper of promise, a necessary command that must be received before the explosion of spring can occur. The ground appears dead, yet it is teeming with silent expectation. Scientifically, the cold acts as the ultimate antidote to the chaos of the second law of thermodynamics, which dictates that systems inevitably move towards disorder. Cold dramatically slows the rate of decay, preserving chemical bonds and halting biological processes. It is the only true natural preservative we know. This scientific truth gives the cold an almost sacred role, a brief, temporary mastery over the inevitable decay of matter. It is a whisper from the universe that even in the face of inevitable entropy, time can be momentarily held at bay. Finally, the silence of winter demands an internal response. When the external world provides little stimulation and the noise of nature has ceased, the mind is forced inward. The cold acts as a great revealer, stripping away distractions and exposing the inner landscape of thought. This stillness, this zen of winter, challenges us to find our warmth not in the external sun, but in the internal resources of resilience, memory, and hope. It is a philosophical season that tests the depth of our spirit, a reminder that true vitality is not always loud or visible. We journeyed into the silence of winter, seeking the meaning behind the cold. What we found was not an absence, but a profound presence, a force of geological change, a necessary biological ritual, a psychological challenge, and an ancient mythic character. The cold is a purifier, a preserver, and a silent promise. It is the essential counterbalance that gives meaning to the warmth that follows. The world is full of such cycles, moments of silence that are in fact the loudest expressions of the universe's order. The stillness has passed, and the cycle continues. What other profound, silent truths are hidden in the familiar rhythms of the world, waiting for you to notice?